Now to developments in the Middle East. We're waiting for the results of a vote from Israel's full cabinet on the Gaza ceasefire and hostage deal. Things are suddenly ahead of schedule after an earlier statement from Benjamin Netanyahu's government. It says the Israeli Security Cabinet has recommended approval of the deal. This video shows Netanyahu meeting with his security cabinet, his inner circle of key ministers and advisors. The deal was approved in that meeting and the process got back on track. The CBC's Chris Brown has more from Jerusalem.
Every twist and turn associated with trying to end this war in Gaza has been full of anxiety, full of uncertainty, and it's persisted even after the deal was inked in Qatar between Hamas and Israel's government. Yesterday, Israel's government accused Hamas of adding last-minute conditions. There was some back and forth, and finally, at around 4 this morning, the government here announced that, yes, finally those issues had been resolved and this agreement would go to Israel's cabinet. So earlier today, that's what happened. It went to the first part of it, to the security cabinet, which approved the deal. And then the Prime Minister's office made an announcement. I'll read part of that now. It said, following an evaluation of all diplomatic, security and humanitarian aspects, and while understanding that the proposed deal supports the achievement of the objectives of the war, the Security Cabinet has recommended the government approve the proposed framework. That was a very major hurdle. If it gets past the security part of the cabinet, it's almost a formality. It's going to get past the full government, the full cabinet, and they're meeting now. Unusually, we're well into the Jewish Sabbath, and government cabinet does not normally meet, but they are still there right now. Obviously, there's been quite a bit of dissent here in Israel, particularly from the far right. Itamar Ben-Gvir, one of its most notable, powerful and extremist ministers, has said he will quit the government, quit the coalition if this comes into force. Other hardliners, though, have suggested they're going to stay. So it does appear, Andrew, that in spite of the delays, in spite of everything, it's going ahead.
So, Chris, Sunday was the provisional date for the ceasefire to kick in. Is that still a possibility? And what details do we know of the terms of this truce?
People still seem to be working towards this Sunday deadline. The plan calls for 3 Israeli captives in Gaza to be released, 3 women, and then there will be Palestinian detainees that Israel has. They will also be released. And again, both sides do seem to be acting as though that this Sunday deadline, if you will, is real. Hamas has released a list of some 33 Israelis that they say will be sent home in the first phase of this deal. It's unclear, though, how many of them are alive. And we've also seen names of some 95 Palestinians currently held in Israeli jails. Most of them, in fact, have not been charged, much less convicted of anything. They're all women and even a couple under the age of 18. So that's the dynamic there. Obviously, though, lots of anxiety at this point. Families of the hostages here have been holding vigils nonstop. Today, there was a gathering in Tel Aviv at what's known as Hostage Square. Let's have a listen to one of the families. Michael Ilutz, his son, Guy, was killed at the Supernova Music Festival.
This deal comes too late for my son, Guy, whose life will not be saved, but it can be brought back home to burial here. Our work is not done. We will not rest until every hostage is home. The living and the dead, they all need to return to us, to their family.
Well, we know there is division here in Israel, much more unanimity from Palestinians in Gaza. Of course, Gaza has been destroyed, much of it, over 2/3 of the buildings there totally gone. Part of this ceasefire involves more than 600 aid trucks arriving every day. That's roughly about 3 times as many as have been getting in. So that will be a very significant thing, assuming it all goes forward. And Israel will also pull its troops out, but not until the very end of this first phase of the deal, which is expected to last 6 weeks, after which there's going to be more discussions about more hostages, more prisoners being released, and ultimately a plan to reconstruct Gaza. But lots of concern about whether we'll ever see that second phase, Andrew. But for now, here, the focus is just trying to get to this first phase and get the deal across the line.
Chris Brown in Jerusalem.